Oh, looks like it was muted. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Coach Fitz. Thank you for tuning in. Tonight we have a special show. If this is your first time coming into the live stream, or this is your first time on my channel, I want to thank you for tuning in. A little bit about myself. Like I said, my name is Coach Fitz. I am a productivity coach, entrepreneur. I help entrepreneurs increase the value of their time through setting goals, focusing, accountability, all that great stuff. And I also talk about things that are happening within the community and try to hold people accountable in the best way I can. And today we are going to be talking about something that is flooding social media right now. Grant Cardone. Now, for those of you who are unaware of who Grant Cardone is, all you have to do is go on social media, Instagram, Facebook, or Google, and type in the name Grant Cardone, and you will see that Grant Cardone is an entrepreneur who really plays around in the space of real estate. Okay. Grant Cardone is someone who plays around in the space of real estate, and he gives pretty much real estate advice, sales training, motivational content, and things such as that. Now, for those of you who may be familiar with Grant Cardone, you know that much of his content tends to spark controversy because of the opinions he has around money. Recently, he said that if you're not making $400,000 a year, you're broke, or you should feel bad about yourself, things like that. And there's a lot of people who like his content because it inspires them. Tonight, we're not here to bash Grant Cardone. We're here to have an intelligent conversation about some of the comments that he's made recently, or I don't know if it's even recent or if it's just the content is being pushed by the algorithm on social media right now. But nevertheless, we're going to get into it and see if we can have a useful conversation. If anyone wants to come up and speak or share their opinion, I will put the link in the description and you can come in, and we can do it like that. Boom. All right. So I will post, let's see here. Okay. So just to give an overview of what Grant Cardone said, and I will actually play the clip so that everyone can see what exactly he said. But essentially, I'll just play the clip. I'll play the clip and then I can discuss it further. Okay. Boom. All right. Okay, so I will share screen. Okay, here we go. So I'm pulling up the clip. Here's the clip. Okay. Here is the clip. Okay. So here we go.
Audience is Black under the age of 40 because we go after that audience and we're talking to them in very street terms, if you will, very not big nomenclature. We just keep everything very tight and simple. About half my audience is Black.
Okay. So that's pretty much the gist of what has everyone in an uproar. Right? That is the gist of what everyone has up in an uproar. And one of the things that people are upset about is he says that one half of his audience is Black. Now, in the Black community, there is a huge problem when Black people think that other groups of people are making money off of Black people. Okay. There's a huge problem. One moment. I have to go let the pest control person. Okay, sorry about that. Exterminator coming through. All right, so back to what I was saying. If you know anything about Grant Cardone, or the Black community, when it comes to white people making money off of Black people tend to be very upset if they're honest about it or upfront with it. Let me explain what I mean by that. Okay. Black people have this weird thing I noticed, like in the conscious community, where we love to spend money on things such as Nikes, Jordans, all these things. Listen to rap music where it's controlled by white executives. We love this. But then when it comes to somebody like Grant Cardone, who comes along and they've built a business and they've captured Black audiences, we have an issue with that because we say, well, that's predatory, right? That I've been hearing that a lot. Well, Grant Cardone marketing to the Black community is predatory, right? Here's where I have an issue with this at, okay? And I have a question. What is the problem with Grant Cardone targeting the Black community? What is the problem? Okay. From what I understand, the problem with Grant Cardone targeting the Black community is that people are saying he's a culture vulture and he's exploiting the community. He's exploiting the community because he said that he uses simple words when he's targeting Black people. Okay, now let me understand this. He's exploiting Black people because he's using simple words. Okay. However, if that was really exploitation, if what we're saying is, hey, look, Black people need to hear simple words in order to be targeted. If we're saying that, isn't that a bigger issue, such as illiteracy? Like that. Think about this. If half of his audience, which he has a huge audience, if half of his audience are Black people, and he put a plan in place to target Black people, and that plan in place was using simple words and street language, as he said, I think, and it's working, isn't that a bigger sign that we need to change something if we're upset that he's using that tactic? Let me give an example, okay? If let's say that, like, mouses, right? People, we see people put mouse traps out, and we see that people will put cheese on the mouse traps. Okay? They put cheese on the mouse traps. Why? Because they understand that cheese will attract that mouse. Okay? They understand that cheese will attract that mouse. Now, if the mouse knows that cheese will attract him and it still goes and gets the cheese, isn't that a bigger reflection on the mouse than the person setting the trap? That's how I see things. In other words, if you're Grant Cardone and you say, I want to target the Black community, how can I target the Black community and get my message to them so I can sell my products to the Black community? What do they respond to? Do they respond to the white guy sitting around talking very professional or talking in jargon maybe to them? Nah, that's just another white guy. So what am I going to do as Grant Cardone? I'm going to call myself Uncle G. I'm going to say dog. I'm going to use language that they understand in order to relate, in order to target them, right? That's just business sense. That's just business sense. That's business 101. If you want to reach a certain target audience, you have to connect with them, okay? If he wants to connect with the Black community, of course he's going to talk like the Black community. I don't see a problem with that. Why? And here's why I don't see a problem with that. If we are so concerned with Grant Cardone targeting our community, then we have to put businesses in place that can compete with his, right? That's the solution. Sitting around complaining is not going to do anything. So if we want to change that, if we want our community to get that attention, for our community to be the one that gets the money and the revenue and all the things that come along with the attention he's getting, then we have to put businesses in place that attract that. If you're offended by somebody saying that they are going to attract our community because they're using simple language, then I want you to think twice, because what I'm going to show you something that maybe you would understand if you're a marketer if you're somebody going after a certain group of people and you're looking at the research, I want you to understand what is out there. Okay. I want you to understand what's actually out there. So let's look at this. Let's put ourselves in the mind of a researcher right now. I'm a researcher. I'm a marketer researcher. Let's say I work for Grant Cardone and I'm his market researcher, and he comes to me and he says, "Hey, look, the Black community, they have a thirst for this real estate information. I want to, add value in that community. I want to push my information out to them. How can I get in front of them? How can I share my message?" And I'm his market researcher. The first thing I'm going to do is say, how can you speak their language? How can you speak their language? How can you connect with them? And I'm going to start doing my research. Okay. And I want to show you something. So look at this right here. According to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, a sector of the U.S. Department of Education, 84% of Black students lack proficiency in mathematics and 85% of Black students lack proficiency in reading skills. Okay, this was in Virginia. This was in Virginia. Okay, if we scroll down, in California, 90% of students cannot do math or read well. New York, 85% and 82%. Illinois, 86 and 85. And it just keeps going on and on and on and on. Okay. Speaking of black literacy rate and our ability to do math. Well, I don't want to say our ability, but where things are right now. And I know there's a bunch of people saying, well, that's because of systemic racism and that's because of this and that's. Okay. Whatever the issue is, whatever the cause of it is, it's there. Okay. There's a high percentage of people in our community that struggle with reading and math. Okay. That's just what it is. So if I'm on his marketing team and I want to help him with his goal of breaking into our community, I'm going to see that. I'm going to say, hey, look, 85% of Black people struggle with reading. 85% struggle with math. So if you go in there talking hardcore real estate investing math, if you go in there talking hardcore using all these jargon terms and things that maybe they're not familiar with hearing, it's going to go in one ear and out the other, right? That's me doing my job. If I'm on his market research team and I'm trying to figure out what appeals to the Black community, I'm going to advise him to use simple words. Why? Because we struggle with reading. We struggle with math. So if I come in here talking about ROI and multiply this and subtract that and add this and add that, but the research is showing that our community struggles with math, then I'm going to waste my money. And if I'm on his marketing team, I'm putting my job in jeopardy by telling him, oh, go ahead, use complex words. You go heavy on the math, right? If it makes business sense, if you are targeting an audience, then you need to understand how to connect with that audience. If the research shows that 85% of Black students struggle with reading and math, and you are talking about real estate, of course you are going to use simple words. That should be on us to change that. If we have a problem, and here's the thing, it's not just Grant Cardone that can see that research. And I'm not even saying he's seen that research. But what I am saying is that if you're trying to break into a community and you know that many people in that community struggle with reading and math, and you're trying to get them to buy your products, of course you are going to communicate with them in a way that they understand. Of course, if you're talking to a child about something, you're probably going to communicate differently than you would an adult. And I'm not comparing Black people to children. I know people are going to get upset. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying we change the way we communicate depending on the audience that we are trying to get to receive our message. And if the research is showing that many of us in our community struggle with reading and math, how can you then expect people that want to connect with our community to use complex, big vocabulary words? It's going to go in one ear and out the other. It's not racist to say that. It's not racist for a business person to come along and say the research says that they struggle with reading and math, and therefore I'm going to communicate a different way than if maybe I was talking to a community or a group of people that didn't. I'm sure if he's in a group of people or in a group of Black people that are highly successful, or they're maybe they're more educated or something like that, and that's apparent, I'm sure that the vocabulary switches up. That's what it is to be a successful business person. You're catering to your audiences, right? As a real estate agent, right? There are certain times where if I'm working with a first-time home buyer, I'm going to approach it differently than someone who's selling their property and has been through the home buying process. Why? Because they're at a different stage in life. They've been through it before. I'm going to cater the message. And so if we're the Black community, right, and we're really outraged that somebody is saying they pretty much have to simplify their message because they want to connect with our community, that is a sign that we have to do better, right? Are we more upset that somebody had to simplify their message, or the fact that 85% of students are struggling with reading and reading and math in certain areas, right? Because here's the thing, okay, and I wrote this down. What are you doing, or what would you do if you wanted to target the Black community? What would you do? Because I see so many Black entrepreneurs, and I'm going to say this, so many Black entrepreneurs get jealous of white entrepreneurs who come into the Black community and do better than they do. That's just what I think. I think that many Black entrepreneurs feel entitled to do business with other Black people because they're Black and we're Black, and we think, oh, do it for the culture. It doesn't matter if my business is as good. You should want to do business with me just because. But you don't want to invest the money in understanding, right? You may not want to invest in this. You just want to do business because you think, because we're the same race, that automatically gives you a ticket in, right? See, here's the hypocritical thing that I find about this situation. We'll get upset with somebody for coming out and saying, hey, look, I use simple terms and I target them. But then we'll spend all our money with these companies who we think are doing things behind closed doors, and everyone has their conspiracy theories and things like that. But we'll spend all this time and money on companies who have shown us over and over again that they do not care about us, right? We'll spend all this money. But here's the point that I'm getting at, okay? If we want to be taken seriously, right? If we want to be taken seriously, we have to get out of this mindset of being so emotional when someone tells us the truth. Here you have a successful entrepreneur, Grant Cardone. For those of you just tuning in, what we're talking about tonight is Grant Cardone made some comments on social media about how he targets the Black community. Half of his audience or whatever is Black, according to him, and he uses simple words to target us. And I'll play that video again, okay, just to show what it was that he was saying, which I don't really see as the end of the world, but let's see. Okay, here we go.
Under the age of 40, because we go after that audience and we're talking to them in very street terms, if you will, very not big nomenclature. We just keep everything very tight and simple. About half my audience is Black under the age of 40, because we go after that audience and we're talking.
Okay, so that's what he said. Okay. Now, me personally, do I think that that's the worst thing in the world that a person can say about us? No. Again, I showed the statistics earlier. 85% of Black students struggle with reading, and the same percentage around there with math. I'd sell something trendy. Okay, he said, I'd sell something trendy. Many Black people want to look the part rather than be the producer. Hey, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more, because here's the thing. As much as we'll sit around and complain, we won't change anything, right? And here's another thing that I don't think people really take into consideration. Many of these Black entrepreneurs are not who they claim to be. They're not looking out for your best interest. They think just because they're skin folk that they're kinfolk, as we like to say. They think because they're the same color as us that automatically means that they have our best interests at heart, which is not true. Over the last couple of years, we've seen a huge increase in scammers coming out in the Black community, taking advantage of people who may not know about real estate, may not know about investing. Do it for the culture. Do it for the culture, right? Do it for the culture is what they'll say. They want us to do it for everything is do it for the culture, do it for the culture. However, right, if they weren't doing it for the culture, how successful would your business be? Right? That's my question. If people weren't doing it for the culture, if they weren't buying your products for the culture, how successful would your business be? Because if the only claim to fame that you have is that you're doing it for the culture, and you put a product out there and people should buy it just because you're doing it for the culture, you are a loser. Because when other people don't just do it for the culture, we think they're preying on us. We think they're trying to take advantage of us. How about we grow up, put our big boy pants on, our big girl pants on, and stop getting so emotional and understand what it is. We struggle with reading and writing, and so marketers who target us are going to use simple words. They're not going to use big words. They're not going to overcomplicate things. They're going to simplify things. And guess what? Guess what? That's really the best way to receive information, is simple. If someone breaks something down in a simple to understand way, then that kind of means that they really understand what they're talking about. If you've ever done training or educated somebody, the first thing you really learn is that the easier, like the younger the person is that you can explain something to, the more you probably know that subject. So that's why in business and many entrepreneurs can testify to this. If you're ever confused, tell somebody, hey, tell me it like I'm 5 years old. Right? Talk to me like I'm 5. Explain it to me like I'm 5. And that will let you know that question right there. Okay. If you ever want to see if somebody knows what they're talking about, ask them to explain it to you like you're 5 years old. Because when you're talking to a 5-year-old, you really need to understand what it is you're talking about, because there's all these assumptions as adults that we think, oh, well, they'll understand this and they'll understand that. And there's so much you miss out on. But if you're explaining it to somebody that may not have all of the know-how, that's where you really see if you know what you're talking about. If you're I'm going to drop a link in the chat. If you're watching and you want to come up and speak or anything, you can click on this link. I'm going to drop this real quick. I got some more to share with y'all as well. But yeah, okay. So moving on. One of the things that I also wanted to talk about tonight was accountability. I want to talk about accountability, and I'm going to say something that I think is going to sting, but it needs to be said. Okay. I'm going to say something that's going to sting, but it needs to be said. All right. We are at a place as a Black community, I think, where instead of taking accountability for the things we need to change, we would rather Black people, other Black people waste our time than white people give us game. I really believe that. There's this thing in our community where we would rather a Black person waste our time than a white person put us on game. Because everything now is about doing it for the culture, right? There's a social currency in our community where you can't just start a business. You have to be doing it for the culture, right? Every small business owner now has to be a revolutionary. Every black small business owner now has to be a revolutionary. You can't just, hey, I want to be a real estate agent. Hey, I just want to start a business and provide a better life for my family and things like that. Every black person now seems like you have to be this revolutionary that's for the culture, and it creates a dangerous situation. It creates a dangerous situation because now not only do you have to own a business and operate a business, but you have to go on pretending and acting as if you're doing it for the culture, as if you're this revolutionary who's ready to die for the community and all these other things, when really you probably just want to start a business, have financial freedom, provide a better life for your family, right? That's why most entrepreneurs start businesses. Most entrepreneurs do not get into business to be revolutionaries, right? Most small business owners or business owners do not get into entrepreneurship to be revolutionaries. Fake wokeness. Yeah, fake wokeness. And it's like people would rather be woke than be free. People would rather be woke than to be free. And I posted something earlier online that said, I would rather you hurt my feelings than waste my time. Right? I would rather you hurt my feelings than for you to waste my time. Okay? And here's what I mean by that. Grant Cardone hurt some black people's feelings because he said he targeted black people and used simple words. He hurt some black people's feelings. There's a lot of black entrepreneurs out here that are just wasting your time because they don't know what they're talking about, but they think because they're a part of the culture that they're good for you and that you'll listen to them and you'll let your guard down. But here's the thing. As much as black people like to sit around and talk like revolutionaries and talk about this and talk about that, at the end of the day, behind closed doors, they are not going to trust the culture when it comes to making those big decisions, right? They may talk about it online. They may talk like they're these revolutionaries and things like that. But when it comes to them and their own personal lives, they're not making decisions based off of the race of the other person. They're not going to their accountant because they're black. They're not going to their lawyer because they're black. They're not going to this supermarket because it's black owned. They're not going and shopping at this restaurant where maybe it takes 30 minutes extra, but it's black. They're making the best decisions for their family just like everyone else. And sometimes that means stepping outside our community. See, here's the thing, and I think that this fake wokeness is very appropriate because we live in a time right now where it's so easy not only for black influencers, white influencers to pretend that they care about black people, but it's so easy to build a social media following based on the fact that you're pandering to black people, right? If you want to build, whether you're white, whether you're black, Asian, whatever it is, if you want to build a social media following, pander to black people. Pander to black people. Tell us that we're victims. Do it for the culture. Pander to us. Tell us that everything is white people's fault. If you want to build a social media following, that's the recipe. Like that Powerpuff Girls, sugar, spice, everything nice. That's the recipe to get a social media following and have black people trust you, is tell us that we are victims, be on our side no matter whether we're right or wrong, and do it for the culture, right? Do it for the culture. Look, there are, and here's the crazy thing. There are people online right now who have no lick of experience in the financial industry, right? They have no credentials, no professional experience. There are many people in our community that would rather go to them than a qualified professional. See, we don't like qualified professionals because they're against us, right? In our community, qualified professionals are a part of the system. They're working for the man. They got these credentials and everything, and they're doing everything on the up and up, and they're doing everything in a professional way, and they're just trying to keep our community down. But did you know you likely spend more money and lose more money going to these unqualified people who their only claim to fame is they connected with you again. And here's the hypocritical part. People are mad at Grant Cardone for saying he uses simple words and things like that to connect with the Black audience. They're mad at him for saying that. But what do you think your favorite Black social media influencer is doing when they're talking about bet? Yeah, and that's how you flip it. Let's run the play. I've seen influencers give drug examples. Yeah, this is like if you on the corner selling drugs and they give you this bag and you buy this bag for $10 and you go flip it and you make $20. Now you running the block. You know, I've seen that. But if a white person came out and said that, there'd be an issue. But we're okay doing it ourselves. So if you are a white person and you are trying to get into the Black, if you are trying to target Black people and sell your products to them, what are you supposed to think? Like, this is if it's working, if half of his audience is Black and this is his strategy and it's working, doesn't that mean that what he's saying is kind of true? That we respond to simple things, that big words are not the way to attract us? Learn from that. If you want to build up an audience and target the Black community, why don't you learn from that and put your own message out? Why don't you learn from that and create a better system? What is it that you think he's doing wrong? Why don't you do better? Right? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Drop a comment in the chat if there's anything specific you want me to speak to. We've been on about 40 minutes. Drop a comment in the chat if there's anything that you want me to speak to. I'm going to go through some of the comments that I seen on that video real quick, and I'll read them. Okay, let's read some of these comments. Let's read. Someone said, just call it like it is. He's going after people who are vulnerable. Right? That's one of the comments. Just call it like it is. He's going after people who are vulnerable. Okay. So these people so because he's targeting Black people, does that automatically mean that they're vulnerable? And if they are if we're vulnerable, and that's why he's targeting us, okay? And we know that he's targeting us because we're vulnerable. Doesn't that now mean we know what to change? Like, I don't see how this is a negative, right? I haven't seen people say he's scamming people. I really don't see the big deal. Okay. I don't see how we're vulnerable when this is our community. Our community struggles with reading and math. And if our community struggles with reading and math, and you are a business and you are trying to market to our community and sell products to our community, what should you do? Should you use, is the problem? Okay. I see the problem now. Maybe this is the problem. He said it out loud. He said it out loud. But isn't that what we value in our community? Keeping it real? Don't we value keeping it real in our community? But when somebody who's not Black comes along and keeps it real and says, hey, look, I keep it simple. I don't use these big words. You know, I use street lingo, if you will. What do you think our culture is made out of? That's how we portray ourselves. That's how we portray ourselves. We've allowed rap music and all these other things that push street culture, gang culture to infiltrate regular people. And now regular Black people think that they have to talk like they're from the hood. They think they have to dress like they're from the hood and act like they're from the hood and be down to die about this and all these other crazy things, right? We've allowed our culture to get to that point. And when people come along who are outside of our culture and give us a dose of reality and say, hey, look, this is how I see your community, we want to get upset. We want to get angry. We don't want to change our community. We want to get upset because somebody comes along and says, this is how I see your community. Many of you struggle with reading and math. So when I try to target you guys and speak to your community, of course, I'm not going to use this vocabulary you don't understand. Why? You're going to laugh at me. Right? I remember growing up in my community, you were shamed for knowing how to read. You were called a house Negro. Let's keep it real. If you loved reading when I was growing up, they made fun of you. I've heard stories of people talking about they had to put their books in a pizza box and hide them from people because they would get made fun of. We don't value education in our community. Okay, so I'm going to read a few more of these comments. Someone said, racism at its best. Racism at its best. So let me get this straight. Grant Cardone is racist because he uses small words with Black people who, the data shows, many of us struggle with reading and math. Okay. All right. Let me ask you a question. Okay. If you, let's say that you were going to do an interview, right? You applied at a job online and you were going to do an interview, and you knew English and you knew Spanish, right? You know 2 languages. You know English and you know Spanish. And you know that most people that you go and do this job interview with speak English, right? Are you going to go in that interview and talk Spanish? Because you know English and Spanish, right? And it's kind of apparent when you walk in that the person interviewing you probably doesn't know Spanish. Are you going to start speaking Spanish? No. Why? Because you understand that if you want to communicate in the most effective way to get this job, you're going to need to be able to communicate on the same level with this person to communicate the value that you have. If you're just going in there trying to communicate any which way, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. This is why people, when they go do interviews, they're on their best behavior. They put their best foot forward, break a leg, those types of things, because we understand when we're communicating with different groups of people, we may have to adjust the way that we communicate. He said, is it racist though? Or is it he is playing the game better? I think it's that a lot of people are jealous he's playing the game better. Here's why I say that. Let's look at the NBA. At one point, the NBA was all white, right? At one point, the NBA was all white. And Black people did not start getting in the NBA because they were complaining and they were worse. Black people it was inevitable that Black people took over the NBA because of the talent. We did better. We made the game more entertaining. We brought value to the game, right? But in the beginning, there were probably some white people sitting around like upset. Oh, you're going to go outside of our community and recruit talent? Oh, you're gonna pick him over me? But now look, that doesn't work anymore. Okay, you can't just be a white person and say, well, I'm white, you should pick me for your team. Can you shoot? Can you dribble? Can you post up? Do you have the skills? When we as black people start judging people based on their skills instead of their race, now I will say this, okay? To me, if you look around and white people are controlling most of what goes on in your life, and you have an issue with that, you can change it. You can choose to move to an area where there's more black people. You can choose to go out of your way to shop with black businesses. You can choose to uh, not listen to certain information. You can choose to go to that restaurant where maybe it's a 45-minute wait because they don't have the updated system that's going to check you out and do this and track your order and make sure that everything's timely and organized. You can choose to do that, but do not think that in the real world, the competition is going to stay still for you. Because that's what I keep hearing. That's what I keep seeing, right? Like, there's a question right here. Is it racist, though, or is he playing the game better? We need to start playing the game better, right? How is it then? If he's racist and blah, 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 people saying that, okay? How is it that he was able to come in, target black people, capture that market audience if the things he's saying are not true? If simple words are working with black people, then doesn't that prove his point? Right? If his marketing campaign is working, doesn't that show that it's working? Like I'm really confused at what the problem is here. I'm going to read some more of these comments on this post. Someone said, I agree with this. Someone said he's trying to relate to his audience. Sales 101. Exactly. He's trying to relate to his audience. That's sales 101. Connect and then convert. Connect and then convert. If your audience sits around talking about themselves all day, your audience sits around and everything is about race, everything is about culture, everything is about what's hip, what's trendy, everything is about talking in slang and things like that. Of course you're going to try to emulate that so you can connect with them, right? Of course. That's basic sales. You're trying to, that's why if you're in sales, you understand, you try to match somebody. So if somebody's coming at you and they're high energy, they're like, hey, what's up, man? You're like, hey, what's up? But if somebody comes in and like, yeah, I want to look at that car over there. You're like, okay, I'll show you that car over there. Right? You try to match them. You try to match their energy. And so if you're trying to break into the black community and target the black community, then you're going to match that energy. You're going to talk how they talk. Like there's somebody, I know that many people have heard of Charleston White. And he did an interview, which I thought was interesting, where he talks about how he was on that activist stuff, like within the community. He was doing activism and things like that, and nobody cared. But then he started to imitate the community. And this is a black man. He said, I started talking like they talk. I started talking like the rappers. I started, communicating in the way that they understand. And that's when I blew up. When I was talking respectful and when I was talking about community activism and kumbaya, they wasn't listening. But the moment I started talking about this and that and cussing and disrespecting people, they understand that. That's what he said. And he blew up after that. So there is something to it. Okay. Let's see. Somebody said disgusting. Okay. Says he goes racist there in the end. Look, I'm gonna be real. I'm so sick of people calling everything racism. I'm so sick of it because where's the accountability? If something's true, it's true. We don't use big words in our community. We struggle with reading and math. Those are the facts. We struggle with it. So, do we change or do we want him to change? Do we care more about what he said or do we care more about changing the fact that we're not good at reading and math? Where is the accountability at? When do we come in and say, we're going to make the change? When does that happen? When? Okay. So I'll leave y'all with this because I'm about to wrap this up. Okay. I don't think that it's racist to say you use small words with Black people when the research shows many Black people struggle with reading and math. We have to get better with reading and math. If we want people to market to us and use big words and things like that, we have to change as a community. We're not, they're not going to communicate with you in a way that they think is going to not connect. They're not going to spend millions of dollars trying to get their message in front of you when they think it's going to go in one ear and out the other. Just like if somebody's trying to market to me and they know that I don't speak Spanish, they're not going to keep pushing Spanish material in front of me, right? They're going to say it in English. They're going to show me restaurants I shop at. They're going to show me influencers they think that I watch. They're going to show me products they think I'm going to buy. That's what marketing is. Nobody wants to waste money and market to people they don't think are going to buy from them. Nobody's going to say things that they think are going to stop people from purchasing their products. This is business 101. So as the Black community, if we are upset that people want to use small words with us when they market to us, then we need to take reading and writing more seriously. End of the story. So look, if you like this content and you got any value at it, please leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the content. Let me know if you would like more videos like this. Also, I am a productivity coach. If you would like to schedule a free consultation, make sure you click the link in the comments. I help entrepreneurs become more accountable, set goals, and ultimately increase the value of their time by doing more of what actually matters. So until next time, I am out. My name is Coach Fitz, and I will see you hopefully in the next video. All right.